For years, my number one recommendation of yellow-pink armor had been to start with Tamiya Pink Primer. This pink primer from Tamiya has been my number one go-to source, whether you're using it for Imperial Fist, Bad Moon Yellow, or Maize Yellow from Army Painter. It makes yellow look fantastic. However, in the little bit I've been playing around with Rogue Pink from Rogue Hobbies and Colorforge, I have been increasingly impressed with it. So here's what we're going to try today. We're going to take my 3 favorite ways to paint yellow armor, and instead of using Tamiya Pink, we'll use Rogue Pink from Rogue Hobbies. So I already have our test models lined up. We'll prime them, give them a quick paint, and then see how it looks at the end. Let's go. So I'm still working on priming the models outside. I just wanted to show you how great this pink looks over black. Wow. So I primed it with Chaos Black Primer first. Look at that transition. I've been consistently impressed by Colorforge primers so far, but man, I love the transition between the zenithal to the black. This looks real good. Again, amazing job by Colorforge. Wow. Yeah, I think Emperor's Children painters would be pleased. I've also been pleased with the way Tamiya Pink looks over black too. So this is at least a good sign for the next stage of our testing once I finish priming all of our test models. Just finished spraying, and they're looking pretty good. I like the build up from the black to the pink to the white zenithal. So far, no notes. This primer was fantastic to work with. I actually had more trouble with the Monument Hobbies Matte White Primer, which is produced in partnership with Colorforge. Didn't come out as thick as I wanted, so I had to do a couple more coats than I usually do, but no, they look fine overall, so let's let it dry for a few hours, and then we'll get to the different paint tests.
3 hours later.
Alrighty, well, let's start with our Imperial Fist Yellow. Crack that open. Already wetted the brush, but I'll just wet it one more time. Load up the brush, and then away we go. See a little bit of that transition from the highlights of the zenithal down into the darker recesses and the pink. Not bad. Look at that. The back of that leg looks real nice. Let's keep going. Those transitions are looking real nice. I'm not necessarily blown away, but I am pleased. Let's touch up this leg a little bit. That's a real cute yellow. That's looking real nice. So it beats the bare minimum of Imperial Fist over White Scar Primer. So that's good. I like that. Here we are all done. That's a nice golden yellow. I think any Imperial Fist player starting out would be very pleased with this formulation. I'm not sure if I like it for my Lamenters, but I will not deny that is a gorgeous yellow. Now that the job's done, I do agree that it looks better than Imperial Fist over flat white primer by itself. If I were a brand new yellow painter, I would be, well, quite frankly, thrilled out of my mind at this coat. Now that I've done a bunch of yellow painting, I can afford to be picky. But if I were a brand new painter, this would be perfect, no notes. I do tend to think that Imperial Fist looks best under a darker primer, whether it's Mephiston Red or this Rogue Hobbies Pink. So I'm very interested to go on to Bad Moon Yellow, which I think works perfectly under the much softer flat Tamiya Pink. So let's try it out now. I'm most nervous about this one, so away we go. And I am pleasantly surprised that it's not a disaster right out the gate. That's looking not bad. Ooh, not bad, but I do see exactly what I was afraid of. Bad Moon Yellow works best under lightest primer, so I wish I knew the science to explain what's going on here, but it looks a lot more neon here in the recesses than the Imperial Fist. Again, because of how dark the pink is. This is one of those rare times where I wish I got an art degree in college. As we hit the top of the zenithal, it's looking real nice under the parts that are the most white primer, which again is not really a surprise because Bad Moon Yellow looks great on flat white primers like White Scar. Experimenting with it, that it became my favorite for Lamenter's armor, although there are certainly times where Imperial Fists do look better for Lamenters. I just prefer this brighter yellow look. Except as we see here, that dark to light transition is not working favorably for this Lamenter. And I try things so you other Lamenter players don't make the same mistakes I made along the way. So there we go. Isn't learning so much fun? Oh, I love doing backpacks. That's where we see a lot of that hard transition work. So, yes, as we're seeing with the front side of the model, the top of the zenithal, where the white primer hit it the most, looks fantastic. If we did this over flat white primer, this wouldn't be any strange looking at all. But as we move into the more recessed areas where that pink base was strongest, we get this neon yellow look. Now, granted, I do not think the neon yellow look is bad, I think it's bad for Lamenters. So here we go. Now that we have the completed model, this is definitely a bright yellow looking individual. It's much more tame compared to the darker pigments of Imperial Fist. So Rogue Hobby's pink, I would say, looks fantastic for Imperial Fist and is a notable competitor for Imperial Fist over Tamiya Pink and Tamiya White. However, I would say if you like this brighter pink look, I would stick to the Tamiya primers. And then last, to complete this little experiment, we have Maize Yellow from Army Painter. It's one of my favorite. I do like it quite a lot. I think it's one of the fun ways to cover ordinary infantry quickly because it can work well either with brush or airbrush. So I do recommend it as a learning tool. It's a great way to figure out how you want to cover your army quickly. And it's got some of the highlights I like best about the way it works with most of the primers I've tried. It fits into that nice in-between spot for Bad Moon Yellow or Imperial Fist because, wow, this is the smoothest one yet. Sorry, I got distracted by how good this looks. Wow. That is some nice pigmentation on both the recesses and the highlights. This looks good. Whoa, hang on here. This might be one of my new favorites. It's not as bright as Bad Moon Yellow by any means, but I like that dark, ancient Morn look. Ooh, hang on. We might be cooking here. Let's get the underside of that leg. Let's get that back. Oh, wow. Oddly enough, that seems to look more Imperial Fist than Imperial Fist. We got a bright tone that's usually consistent with what I like to see out of Bad Moon Yellow, and it's not as dark orange as Imperial Fist. Wow. So we got a nice blend of natural shading, and I'll have to try this with airbrush because this is looking quite fantastic as brush. So I think this actually might look better than most of my other yellow recipes, so this may end up becoming my new favorite. Again, yellow armor is extremely subjective. Just because this might be my new favorite look doesn't mean that one of these other 5 might not be one of yours. What do you think? Which one of these 6 looks is your favorite? Have you tried priming with Rogue Hobby's pink? I've been extremely impressed with everything out of the Color Forge lineup so far, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Hope you all have a fantastic day. Stay safe. Watch another video. Google says that if you liked this video, you'll like this one here in the top corner. Stay safe, party hard, and party like the rock star you are. Well, anyway, stay safe, have a great day, and party like the rock star you are. Adioski. Bye.